I'm Megan.
I'm Colin.
And this is
Pet Sitter Confessional,
an open and honest discussion about life as a pet sitter.
Brought to you by Time to Pet and Pet Sitters International. What does it take to make a good kennel work these days? And how do you go about tackling large projects in your business? Today, we're really excited to have Zach Shearer, owner of Zach's Pet Services, back on the show. He was previously with us on episode 54. He joins us again today to talk about all that's changed since then, some of the big things that he has planned, and how and why he continues to elevate his staff and team members. Let's get started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Colin, for having me on. And I'm definitely honored to be back on and talking with you all and giving you an update on how we're doing here in Indiana and how our kennel business is continuously growing each and every day. It's definitely looking different than it did in May of 2020, that's for sure. But I suppose that is a blessing that we're not in the state we were then. So for those that didn't hear episode 54, my name is Zach Shearer. I'm the owner-operator of Zach's Pet Services in Roanoke, Indiana. And we offer doggy daycare, pet boarding, which is for dogs and cats, and also full-service grooming. We also have a unique business that we do as well called the Wedding Wagon, where we take dogs to and from weddings for their parents that are getting married. So that's kind of a fun service that we offer as well. But our main three are the boarding, grooming, and doggy daycare. I started this when I was 10 years old in a little shed, a 10 by 12 shed that my parents and grandparents helped build. They saw my passion and wanted to help me fulfill that. And that way I didn't bring home every animal that I wanted to and keep it as my own. These could come and go. So that was great for my parents too. I started this, like I said, when I was 10, and it's just continuously has grown from there. Probably by the time I want to say middle school, like 8th, 9th grade, maybe early high school, I realized this is probably what I wanted to do forever. I knew I wanted to take care of animals or do something with animals, but early high school, I'm like, well, I still want to go to vet school. And I wasn't big into school. So I realized I wanted to expand my kennel. And so by senior year, I decided to start working on a business plan and kind of hash out all the things of running a business and expanding it and see that I could actually do it. So I ended up going and getting a 2-year degree in business administration. And my now wife, Jenna, and I worked on a business plan in school and ended up purchasing the property that we're at now and expanding the kennel there. So we pretty much tripled in size when we moved here. I was able to, accommodate double the animals or more, and then also add grooming and daycare into that as well. So it's definitely a change in pace for sure. I was going from just myself to then adding a few employees, a groomer and one kennel attendant, and now we have 7 full-time employees and 6 part-time employees. So we're putting up an 8,500 square foot facility. So we're expanding yet again. That's a little bit about me and my current endeavors in the pet care industry.
Well, and so even since we last spoke, a lot has changed. Back on that episode was really kind of in the middle of the pandemic and talking about a lot of the generosity of the community that was keeping you afloat and people coming back and buying, gift cards and that kind of stuff. How has business been since we spoke for you? What's that? How's it grown, changed, or looked different?
Yeah, absolutely. So we spoke, in the spring of 2020, and that was kind of when everything was blown up with COVID. And like you said, people were bringing generous gifts and donations and, buying gift cards, and we were doing sales and different things to try to bring in that income that we were losing. This hit at a very horrible time for the pet care industry. Not that it would have been a good time anytime, but, it impacted us greatly, as you know. And I think that, when we spoke, we had pretty much all of our spring breaks canceled, which is spring break is the busiest time of year, at least for us, the last couple weeks in March and the first week in April. And that impacted us greatly. I mean, that was a large amount of our revenue right out the window. And so we saw so many acts of kindness and things over those few weeks. And, with the pandemic kind of being up and down and how things were, numbers were high, numbers were down, people, were afraid to start traveling. So it definitely took a while before business picked up. I always tell people after the 4th of July in 2020, it seemed to up. The country was in a better state at that time with the COVID cases and everything. So I would say from about the week of July 4th until the end of October, we were steadily pretty busy in 2020. And then the country kind of went down, went up in cases, but went kind of crazy again around Thanksgiving time there in November. So we lost all of our Thanksgiving break dogs and it was down again and people were concerned about traveling. So it was definitely kind of a roller coaster that year, as many can relate to that. But then as time went on and 2021 came around and people got more comfortable going, it was kind of like, I almost relate it to, turning a bunch of horses out in a fresh green pasture, or turning the dogs loose at the park. Everybody's just ready to travel. They're long overdue. They haven't been able to, and now they're just going like crazy. And 2021 has been the best year, that we have had in a while. Or well, ever, really. I mean, people are traveling like crazy. We were booked pretty much the whole year, and it's still that way. So business is very, very good. These are our spring break weeks now coming up, and we've turned away over 200 dogs. People are just, I don't think anybody's going to be left in the area around here during that first week in April, besides kennel owners and accountants. But yeah, it's very busy. So we've been very blessed. Our customers are still very generous. That we see the acts of kindness all the time, and but we've definitely business has been very good, and that has helped because as I mentioned, we're putting up a new facility, so it's been a little more stressful since it's kind of like having 2 full-time jobs, but especially being that busy with our business at the kennel, but it's also a blessing to help with that.
Well, so even with that tremendous growth since then, I look at the past 2 years and I would have been hesitant to go all in with a big expansion like you have. Where did did that ever cross your mind of maybe I shouldn't do this, or maybe I should hold back a little bit, or were you kind of all in once that idea came up?
No, that's a great question, Colin. We've definitely, my wife and I have sat down at the kitchen table multiple times over the last few years. What should we do? Is this a good decision? Is this a bad decision? We pride ourselves in, saving for things that we want and making sure that we have the means to do things and where we're at with the business and in our personal life. And, we had these blueprints drawn up back in 2019 before everything happened with COVID. And so we actually were starting to get bids on our project, and then COVID hit. So we actually did put things on hold because we had no idea in March of 2020, how things would look, in March of 2021. So we definitely, that was a big impact. But then once business started picking up and everything, we realized that we still wanted to go through with it. And we saw the opportunity, the need in our community and our surrounding communities for, a wonderful, good, reputable kennel that a lot of people trust, and seeing how many animals we turned down or turned away from not being able to stay at our facility. We saw the need for this to happen, and we decided to go through with the project.
I love hearing that even despite kind of these reservations, you still saw the mission and you still saw the need, and you went, that's what we can fill, right? That's where we belong, and continue to push forward with that. And I think many times in business, we do get hung up on bad experiences or bad things that happen. And I definitely think we should learn from them. But I think the moment we start letting them hold us back in business is the moment where we really need to assess what exactly why we're moving forward and why we're in business and what is guiding our decisions. Is it out of fear, or are we moving towards something, right? We never want to be running away from a bad decision or a bad experience. We want to be moving towards those goals and towards that mission that we have for our business.
Right. Absolutely. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And there's always going to be bad things that happen in the world. We can't control that, whether they impact you personally, in your own life or just in the world. You turn the TV on or your computer and you see something that is negative, and then maybe 30 seconds later, you see something that's positive. You're not going to get away with that, but, it's about how you handle the situation that you're in or that you're experiencing or that's in your environment, and how you move forward from that. And that's the opportunity we saw. We knew people were not going to not have pets. In fact, that went the opposite because everyone was home or working from home. So now we're seeing all the pandemic pups. So I think that's also helped our business and the pet care industry as a whole. So I think that my wife and I were like, this is what we were meant to do. This is our passion, and people love us and love what we do. And, people are upset when we can't take their animals. And so, we decided, to go through with the investment and to help fulfill that need for our community and our customers.
Well, so how is the expansion going, and what exactly are you doing with the building, and how's that associated with your other ones?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start off with saying that I've learned a lot about patience over the last few months. We bought our home and our property, and the current building that our kennel facility is running out of and grooming area and all of that was already standing. We just did remodeling and things, which is stressful, but it's a lower grade than building an 8,500 square foot facility. So yes, patience has been a huge thing, but it's going well. We broke ground back in July of 21, and we're not quite open yet, but it's a unique project. I think we've learned, our eyes have been open up to as much about construction as I think our builders have been about the pet care industry. They're always blown away by seeing different things coming in and asking us questions and meetings and things, and seeing our customers with their pets, and they've seen things they've never seen before. And then I think our views are the same way. I didn't know this much of what went into building a facility and all the decisions that were to be made, and the costs and different things like that. So overall, it's going well. One of the most frequent questions that I'm asked by people in our community or customers, friends, et cetera, is the cost. And, how are you doing this? And why are you doing this? And I'm like, I don't know how much the cost is going to go down in the future. And our need is here now. And we're turning away so much business that we felt like, it was still the right decision to go through with it. And, we did lock in our lumber prices and our concrete prices and things early on. So they didn't get as high as what they had gotten to. So, those things definitely played a big role in our decision making and stuff too. But I think even if you're building a home or you're building a small facility or big facility, whatever you might be building, it always costs more than what you think, because you're always changing your mind and doing things differently. And my wife and I spent a lot of time designing and creating our facility to fit the needs of our employees and our customers, but to also fulfill our dream of what we wanted. This is an enormous investment for us, coming from a 10 by 12 shed that I ran. But, we made sure that everything was exactly what we wanted. So, within these decisions, they're decisions that we're okay with. We're the ones changing things. The expansion project is going well. We're really hoping to be open in May, which, is just about a month away or so. We've had some issues with the supply chain and different things like that, with materials not coming in on time, like our kennel gates and in the fronts and glass and stuff like that. Windows, different things like that have been delayed. So it's definitely taken a huge toll on that, but we're getting there.
I'm amazed at how you're guiding and you're leading this this project, because I know when it comes to big projects for me, like, I get overwhelmed pretty easily, right? I get overwhelmed trying to stand in front of the paint aisle at a Home Depot, let alone trying to design something totally blank canvas, right? So how do you overcome those feelings of overwhelm, or maybe do you even experience those throughout this process?
Yeah, absolutely. It is an overwhelming thing, and each decision that we've made, and different options looking into, okay, how do we want to do our kennel runs, and how do we want to do our play area, and all those different things, by also trying to meet so many needs, our employees' needs, our customers' needs, and what they've wanted, and what you pick up on things. Our customers have been like, oh, it would be nice to have this type of tub in your grooming shop, or it would be nice to have this so you can do that. I mean, you're always going to get different opinions and things, and that's great because you're going to learn from that and you're going to help base your decisions off of that. Leading this project has been big. Meeting with our general contractor, we have impromptu meetings, it seems like all the time. I'm always, running out of the doors, telling the girls, I'll be right back. I'm going over to the building site, and so somebody will cover the office if I'm in the office or whatever I might be doing. And my father works for us part-time and out in the kennel and helps with maintenance and different things like that. And he's been huge helping with the building project. And, we have 2 little kids at home. And so it's sometimes we pull him out of the kennel or over at the new building to watch our kids so that Jen and I both can go over and run and meet with the contractor. So it's definitely overwhelming. And, there's been several nights where we've just sat down and just hashed things out. If we got some news on the building that wasn't great, like, we can't do this, so we have to come up with a different option. Jen and I have tried to figure out, what we can do, but it has definitely, like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of become another full-time job. Because not only do I have the workload and the mental load of the kennel and everything that goes into running that business, we also have the new building, and that's, an entire job in itself. So I feel like it definitely takes, you kind of have to have that niche for it and to be able to do it, but it definitely helps with having good contractors, good people that are working for you too, to help aid in those decisions and everything.
Yeah, and I really like how you let off talking about taking into account and consideration other people's needs in the project, right? It's not just about your wife's needs in what's going on. Like, you have a vision for how you want it to operate, but anytime, right, like when we were tackling these big projects, sitting down and going, okay, there's a Venn diagram of overlapping needs and wants and requirements that people have. These are the stakeholder needs of anything that we're doing, and going, okay, where do these overlap? How do those align with my vision? And I have to ultimately be the one that makes the decision to move forward or not, and being okay with that. That's something that I know I have struggled with in the past, of being okay with being the person who says yes or no. But ultimately, surrounding yourself with good information, with a good group of people to give you good guidance, and bringing those topic experts. Like you said, you're learning so much from the builders. And we do that all the time in our business, whether that's a good CPA or a good trainer or a good vet or a good groomer to pull up alongside us and go, hey, teach me so I can make a good decision and I can be as educated as I can. And in those feelings of overwhelm, those feelings where we don't know how we're going to move forward or, handle all these moving facets, that's what it takes. It takes a good group, and it takes understanding exactly, kind of where you want to end up.
Right, exactly. And a good example is, like the grooming room that we're putting in and stuff. I had my groomers look at some equipment that I was looking at buying. I'm like, hey, you guys are the ones that are going to be in here every day working with this. What's your opinion on it? This is something that I found that I think would fit your needs perfectly, but is this going to work for you? Because I don't want to spend the money on it, and have it installed and everything if it's not going to work. But we've tried to incorporate that in everything, and how not only how we're filling the new building and purchasing things for that and how we're going to operate each and every day, but also our current facility and how we're doing things. Are our daycare attendants and managers, are their needs met with what they have and with how they're operating, our boarding, our grooming, etc. So, yeah, I mean, definitely, I think you have to involve your staff, you have to involve your consumers, and, people from the community. I have always stressed that you can never not learn from somebody. I mean, you always go out and talk to somebody and they may put something in your head that you think, hey, that's a great idea. Maybe I should look into that. Or seeing something online, seeing a product that somebody's using, you may want to look into it to see if that product could be good at your facility.
Yeah, being open to that. And that takes being humble and admitting, like, I don't know everything, but the good part is I'm not required to know everything, right? I
right.
don't have all of the answers.
Exactly. Even though sometimes we wish we did, it seems like it would be easier. It's really not.
Right, exactly. Yeah, because we don't have that person's experiences with how that was tried in the past or the new things that are going on. We can't stay up to date with just new, let alone the past experiences. Let's just focus on new information. It's impossible to stay up to date on all of the new information that's being put out there. So having those trusted resources and the people in your life is really important to help us make good decisions, not just in our business, but our personal lives as well.
Absolutely.
Have you heard of Time to Pet? Dan from NYC Pooch has this to say.
Time to Pet has been a total game changer for us. It helped us streamline many aspects of our operation, from scheduling and communication to billing and customer management. We actually tested other pet sitting softwares in the past, but these other solutions were clunky and riddled with problems. Everything in Time to Pet has been so well thought out. It's intuitive, feature-rich, and it's always improving.
If you are looking for new pet sitting software, give Time to Pet a try. Listeners of our show can save 50% off your first 3 months by visiting timetopet.com/confessional. Now, when it comes to running a kennel and in a boarding facility, you've been doing this for a long time now. So in your mind, what makes a good facility for boarding and for daycare?
Yeah, so I think, Colin, it takes several things, but a few things that I would like to definitely highlight on that I have been able to use over the years to definitely better, not only better the facility and how to run the kennel and everything, but also how to better myself in being a leader and running the kennel. The first thing is having good, hardworking and caring employees that work for you. I always tell, people in my community, friends and family, new customers coming in, that I try to teach and train my employees to operate the business how I have. And, over the past, because, it was just me for several years. And so, I'm obviously an animal lover. I've loved dogs and cats and all the animals, since I was little. But, I truly care about the customers as well, the two-legged customers. And so, training my staff to make sure that they take the time to talk to our customers and relate to them and ask them how they're doing, and also doing the same for their pets. If their dog had a bad day at daycare and, maybe wasn't too happy with the other dogs, maybe got in a scuffle or something, I want them to talk to them and, be able to, relay that information so that they can handle it at home and be open to that and not just hand them the dog and say, have a good day. And, that be it. I want them to take the time to really get to know them. I think another big key to success for a good kennel is how you operate the services that you offer. All the kennels and all the pet care businesses, we all essentially do the same thing. But we run them differently depending on, your beliefs and your values and different things. So I feel like that's a huge key in running our business. We want to, number one, be transparent with our customers. The biggest thing, that I stress here at Zach's Pet Services is just tell the truth. If a dog gets hurt, maybe it hurts its leg or something out playing. I want my employees or myself, depending on who it is, to tell the customer, this is what happened and this is what we think it could be. And instead of just sending that dog home with a hurt leg and getting a phone call that night, transparency is huge. If a dog gets hurt, sick, anything like that, I think that should be relayed. The biggest thing is, showing compassion for the customers and their pets, but then also training your staff to do the same thing. I also think that another big thing in running a good kennel is how you treat your staff and how you treat your customers. I think that's a big thing for me. I want to make sure that as a leader of my company that I strive to, make sure that my employees know that I'm there for them. And if there's any struggles or any questions they might have or anything that they can come to me. I think that's a huge part of running any kind of business, but also, the pet care industry, it's a very personable business, as you know, Colin. You become family with those customers and their pets. They're their babies. They love them, and you've got to provide that good care. And I think that creates, a huge family of just even our employees. We truly care about them. We wrap up the day with talking about the pets, and if there's anybody, one might not be eating real well, so we discuss that and what we think. And I just think all those things definitely go into a play with of how to successfully run a business.
Yeah, we cannot forget about our two-legged clients at all. Right? At the end of the day, they are essential for our survival. Right? Until the dogs start paying us in Dogecoin or whatever, we're going to have to have that customer and that client service that meets their needs too, and put their needs way, way forward in the process. And I do think that too often we get focused on how we provide the pet care and how we provide the pet care, and how we handle the pets and the training for the pets and everything for the pets and the first aid CPR training for the pets and all of that's good, necessary, and needed in a business to run it well, to have those skills. But when we overlook the clients and just how they're doing, what needs do they have? Do they feel listened to? Do they feel a part of this? Do they feel like we are meeting their needs? If we skip over that step, you're right. That kneecaps us right from the very beginning, right? We can't get off on a good foot if we don't address those needs. And that starts with us, and if we have staff, getting them to understand how important that customer service is as well, because that can really impact people's views of you. Because you're right, if you stop being transparent to the client because you don't think it's important, because, well, the dog's okay, so I don't need to tell the client, that starts looking right. All of a sudden go, is that a break in trust? What else are they telling me, right? And we don't want to have those things.
Yep, absolutely. No, I agree completely with that. I think that, their time is important, just like we think that ours is too. We have to make sure that if they have concerns or questions or anything about their animals, that we can be there for them to answer those questions and, not just talk over them or blow them off or anything like that. Some of them, especially like our first time customers, they're nervous. They may have seen the great reviews on our facilities, social media pages. They may have talked to friends, coworkers, things like that, but they personally have not utilized our services. So, they need to make sure that they're getting all those questions answered, and we're taking the time to truly invest in that and showing them that we care.
Overcoming those nerves is one of the biggest hurdles that we have to face in the pet care industry when people realize that they need us. And it's because when people get a pet, right, many of them never had an experience with us for the first time. Many of us, let me say that again. Many people have had pets for many years, but are only now needing us to care for their pets because they have family acquaintances. Maybe their kids were younger, but they're kind of aged out of that pool resource of kids that are school age, and they're looking around going, well, I don't know what to do now. And who could I trust? And we forget that that's where many people come from. when they have pets is this: they're coming from fear, they're coming from anxiety, and unaware of what the possibilities are, and approaching them in kindness, in gentleness, and humbleness, and guiding them through that process with patience is really going to help set up and build that trust and that relationship for years to come.
Yes. Yep. I agree completely. And, I was just having this conversation with a friend the other day. They were trying to kind of better understand exactly what we do on a day-to-day basis, which sometimes can turn into a lengthy conversation. Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, the pet care world is so much different than it used to be. Even when I was a child, I grew up on a farm, and we had horses and cattle and, everything like that. And so we would have dogs, and they would just be taken care of by whoever came over to feed the horses. It was not a big deal. Here's their food and this is how much they get. And they have water over there, and just fill it up when it's empty. As long as they can go to the bathroom and they can eat and everything. It's just such a different world that we're living in now. And many people, whether they move away for their profession or whether they just move away to relocate, they don't have those family members and those friends that they trust to care for their pets. But also, more and more dogs and cats are living in homes, whereas they used to live out in the barn and, were let out to run in the field and stuff. Dogs have become, dogs and cats have become such a huge part in all of our day-to-day lives. A lot of people, they may have 2 children, but they have 4 dogs. A lot of times they have more pets than they do children. So I think it's just an entirely new world that we're living in, and kennels, daycares, different things, house sitting, that all didn't used to be a thing, the dog walking and everything. And now it has become such more of a need, and this friend that I was speaking to, they were blown away that we were putting suites in our new facility where they had we have these couches and TVs and things. And they were like, really? People are going to do that? And I said, yes. I said, that's something people have asked for. That's a need that we need to meet. And, they were just blown away by that. But I think that so many people don't realize, where we're at in this world and how much pets truly mean to people,
Yeah, or just how much the industry has changed for the services that are offered, right? That's a really good
right
for, the fact that you're putting in sofas and TVs in suites 20 years ago. Are you kidding me? Like, what?
Exactly. We've had people ask if we'll board them, that's just where that's where we're getting here.
So on that, Zach, there are a lot of misconceptions about a kennel and a boarding facility out there. How do you work to change people's perceptions of what they think a kennel was, 20, 30 years ago?
Right. Yes, that's definitely something that we deal with on a day-to-day basis. I think a lot of people that have not had their eyes open to, a good kennel facility kind of relate it to like a dog pound. They think it's just a dog locked away in a small cage, and they're never let out until they come back to pick them up. And that's not how we operate, and that's not how most kennels operate. I'm just speaking on behalf of myself and our business, but I think one of the best things is we will most of the time, mention on the phone to a new customer, come on in and check us out. We're an open door policy. Stop in during our open hours. Here are the hours that would be easier for us to talk to, like usually our afternoons are better than our mornings. But I think that helps a lot of people. They get the chance to come in, discuss their pets with us, see what we have to offer, see all that their pet gets while they're here. We have different packages and things because, it does take time, and we do have employees that are being paid to provide these services for their animals. So we've got different packages that cost different things, but all the pets still get out to stretch their legs and go potty every day. And I think a lot of people don't think that. They think that they're going to bring their pet to our facility. The pet's going to think it's there forever and they're never coming back for it. And they're going to cry all the way out of here, and I think once they come in and they see what it really is, they just feel so much better, and like a weight is lifted off their shoulders. So yes, we see that, almost every day, people that are nervous about leaving their pets and not really knowing exactly what our facility looks like and how we run the facility. But that's definitely the best thing. And, we suggest that people will bring their dogs for either a day of daycare, a meet and greet, or just an overnight before they board, so that they're not just put there for maybe a week at a time. But yeah, I always use that analogy about the dog pound. And I'm not saying that they're bad. We have great shelters in our area. But, I think to the customer, they're thinking that they're just dumping their dog off, and the dog's going to think that they're never coming back for them.
You're right, and the owner has that conjured up in their mind when they think of boarding, kennel, or facility. They think of the kind of sterile concrete with wires and things like that, and they can't imagine to see their pup, their house pup, who sleeps on their bed at night in those kind of situations. And so having that, not just telling them about your services, but offering to show them what it's actually like. That is huge for clients, especially first-time and nervous clients, is showing them and telling them and doing it both repeatedly of, this is what we do, this is how we do it, and this is how you come and see. And those test nights or daycares or meet and greets also again help them see how their dog is going to interact and how their dog is going to behave, and getting that report card and seeing it gives them so much peace of mind. The dog would probably be fine if they didn't do that, if you didn't do the test night or anything anyway, but it's the owner.
Right, 9 times out of 10. Yeah, exactly. And I love to not only is it comforting for the owner and for us to see that, but it's also like a great sense of pride and satisfaction too, when you have a pet that comes for an overnight and the owner thinks it's going to be absolutely miserable and it doesn't want to go back home with its owner and it's trying to get back to you. And you laugh when they leave. It's like, see, we told them, and then they continuously come back for years and years. But it makes you feel good because it's like, look, we can prove to you that your pet is going to be just fine. And, yes, it's going to sleep out here, but it has its bed and everything, but it will be just fine. And it will end up wanting to come back here the next time. And one of my favorite things to see is the second time a dog boards, because the first time, a lot of times they are nervous. And the owners, look, its tail's tucked between its leg, or look how sad she is. She's crying, different things like that. Those comments are made at drop off. And then the second time, they're almost, flat out on the asphalt because the dog's dragging them to get to our attendants, So I think that is my favorite. Is the favorite boarding stay is the second one. And, it's not always that drastic. There's some dogs that don't show as much emotion as others and don't get as excited. But we have, enough of those that I just love to see that change in pace. And once they stay here, people, we get nervous going places. We may go somewhere and be hesitant about going there, like maybe a restaurant. And then you end up loving it and you're excited to go back again, So I think we can definitely relate to our pets and our customers in that regard. We do cat boarding. We definitely don't have near as many cats as we do dogs. Cats definitely do stay home more than dogs when they go away because they're not as much social animals as dogs are. You can leave food for a whole day and they may only eat a little bit of it. But we do offer cat boarding. There's usually, I always say that the two client bases of cats we have are, one, the ones that are on daily medications or insulin injections that need that constant care. And then two, the dogs or the cats that act like dogs that are very social, are going to tear their house apart while they're gone. And they need that social interaction and that place to go where somebody's watching them all day long. So we do see a fair amount of cats. We've got a couple cats that stay with us for the entire winter while their owners are in Florida. And so, they just become our own cats. They just think that they live there half the year. They're snowbirds staying here inside, So we do offer cat boarding. They only stay inside the facility. We have a separate area for them, and we're doing the same in our new facility. So they're in like little kitty condos where they can lay on perches. And then we do let them out one at a time in our like office lobby area, grooming area, where they can stretch their legs and wander around for a little while.
Now, what kind of assessments or things do you look for in a cat to know if it's going to be a good fit for boarding versus maybe your cat should be cared for at its home?
Right. Yeah. A lot of times we do the same thing that we do with the dogs. We recommend, a day where they come in and just stay. They may drop them off in the morning and pick them up in the afternoon, or let them stay overnight. We had an elderly cat that boarded with us for a few weeks last year over like in the springtime. And I think I ended up staying for 3 weeks. And they were very, very nervous because they've always had somebody stay at home with the cat or check in on it, a couple times a day. And the cat was just getting older. It was getting a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more high maintenance, as it was getting older. And they were worried with that long of a trip, just having somebody check in on it. And so I had them, I recommended that they would bring it in for a night, and they ended up leaving it for a couple of nights. And he did wonderful. And so then they ended up boarding him for the long trip. And they were just amazed when they came back how we called him the cruiser, because he just would take off and just cruise all the way around the room and just not stop for the longest time. And, he's coming back here in a few weeks to stay again. And they've done it a few other times because, they finally have a place they can take him. But there are some cats that we have, said absolutely not. They've just been home for too long. This is too stressful on them. But, cats a lot of times are going to be nervous and scared for the first couple of days. They don't adjust quite as well as dogs do. I'm sure you've been at the vet with a dog, or your dog maybe, Colin, and you've seen cats and they're hissing in their carriers, and your dog's just wagging its tail and waiting for somebody to pet them. So there's definitely that difference in a dog and a cat, and it sometimes will take a cat a few days to adjust. So it's hard for us to just solely go off of that one day. But if they're not, causing harm to themselves, or they're not extremely stressed out, then we usually, we'll tell the owner, we think they'll be fine. Well, we'll take the emergency contact name, obviously, and number if there's any issues. And we always have their vets on file and everything. So, but yeah, it's a little bit more difficult to do an assessment on a cat versus a dog.
What is it like having that conversation of this isn't going to be a good fit and guiding them somewhere else?
Yeah, it's definitely a difficult situation, and we've had different daycare dogs over the last 5 years that, and I always stress this, that daycare is not for every dog, even no matter what, like if the person thinks that they want their dog in daycare so bad because their friends' dogs are all going to daycare and things like that, it's kind of like a child, it's like mom played volleyball, and so the daughter's going to play volleyball, and you're going to play volleyball, and the kid wants to dance. I mean, it's a lot like that in the animal world too. And so I think that a lot of people just assume that their dog is going to do great. Whether it's boarding or daycare. And, we've had some of the hardest conversations with owners, because their dog may be exhibiting behavior, aggressive behavior towards other dogs, or they just may be so anxious and they're just a nervous mess and we don't want them to be stressed out. And, those are the hardest conversations. But again, we go back to the whole transparency thing, and we're not going to, number one, have the dog be, miserable all day if it's not enjoying the social aspect of daycare and everything. And two, we don't want to take their money. I mean, if it's not working for their dog and it's better off at home, then we're going to go that route. And so we just talk to the owners, and, we have a couple dogs right now that have been doing daycare, and one nipped one of our employees because it didn't want to go back in the yard, and just some different anxious behavior and things. And so we're working with them because they want to, they have house sitters and pet sitters that come into the home, but they need that backup plan. If they have to take off and they don't have anybody, they've got to have a good, safe kennel that those dogs can go to. So we're working with them to try to, see exactly what we can do and how we can accommodate them in our facility. And, we had about a half-hour discussion this afternoon. Here's the update. This is how their behavior was. This is what we saw, different things like that, so that they can make the proper decisions for what's best for them and their dogs.
Building a profitable pet sitting business on your own can feel overwhelming. Since 1994, Pet Sitters International has helped over 40,000 people just like you start and grow their business. From access to group rate pet insurance and discounts on background checks to free client handouts and a monthly member toolkit, PSI provides you with the credentials, continuing education, and community you need to grow your pet sitting business. You'll also be invited to join a private online network of other pet sitting business owners from around the world. Save $15 off your first year of membership by using the promo code PSC15 at checkout. Visit petsit.com/PSC to learn more. That right there at the end of the day is what we want them to make, whether that decision is with us, with our services, or with somebody else. It needs to be the best decision for them and their dogs, and that's equipping them with that good information. That's being upfront and honest about how their dog, how their cat, how their pet is doing. Because if we try and sugarcoat things, that means they are not making a decision with all of the information. And I always remember that whenever I have to give that bad news. I want this person to know the fullness of what's going on so that when we try and do something different, they know exactly why we're going in that direction. Because if I'm I'm like, oh, yeah, Fifi was a little scared when Fifi was actually at a level 5 fear the entire time and lashing out at everyone.
Right.
Like I need to make sure they have that knowledge so that they don't put themselves in a bad situation, or Fifi in a situation, or somebody else that they try and bring in, and that gets out of hand. So always putting forth and going, okay, I have to be as honest as I can right now. I'm going to be as honest as I need to, as possible right now, so that you have all the information so that you can make a good decision.
Right. And, and I think too, you have to look at yourselves and your staff and the pet and make sure that you're not putting anybody in danger. And, that you're not causing, the pet's health to be at danger. It's kind of a joint thing. You have to communicate with the customer about their pet, but then also look out for your staff. We've had aggressive dogs where we have to talk to the owner and say, hey, we got through the week, we kept him, everything was fine, but he nipped our employee, and we just don't feel comfortable with it because one thing could lead to another. And I think you have to protect your staff, you have to protect yourself, but at the end of the day, then by talking to the customer, the owner of the pet, they know too now what has happened, so that you would feel, at least I would feel horrible if it bit their child or if it bit somebody, because we didn't relay that information on to them. And it may just be that they weren't at home. Some dogs are just different outside of their element, but you always just have to communicate so that the owner can make the proper decisions for their household.
Yeah, and that takes leading in that moment and stepping up and going, no, this is the best thing possible. So for you, you do a lot of stuff, right? You're working, you're building a massive building, and you're running a current facility, and you've got kids at home and all this stuff going on. For you, how do you lead in those times where there's needed input, and how do you step into that role of going, okay, this needs to keep moving?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great question, Colin. I think that, I've had to work on it over the years, but I'm trying more and more to delegate to my employees. I've got great managers that know the ins and outs of our business and how we operate and things. But there's also going to be those customers that will say, can I speak to Zach? My name is on the business and I am tied to it in that aspect. But, I make sure to include my employees in on it. So if we're discussing, like with an owner, like you mentioned, if things don't go well for the dog and stuff, I want to make sure I have another employee there and make sure that they know that they were taking care of that dog all day as well. And, that kind of stuff. So I think as a leader, it's good to make sure that, I step in and make sure those people know that I was aware of the situation, and give my input and things, but I also, having managers and having people that oversee our services as well. I want to make sure that, I can allow them to discuss those things with the customers as well. And I think that's what you were asking. Is that correct, Colin?
Yeah, it was leading through those difficult situations that come up, or uncertain times, or how to lead well when people are looking to you going, okay, like what do we do now?
Right, exactly. And I always thought in the back of my mind too, coming from just doing this business from a kid by myself, and having my parents help with different things like that. And then, growing to 2 employees, and then, just keep going from there and there. I think in the back of my head, I think, well, I don't want to just throw that problem on them, or I don't just want to throw that over to them and have them handle it. But I think that in return, by doing that, you're showing those employees that you trust them and that you respect their opinion on the matter. And by giving them that situation to handle, that not only puts your trust in them, but it also puts the customer's trust in them, that they know that employee cares for their pet just like Zach does. So I feel like that's a huge thing, is to make sure as a leader that I show my employees that they're not just a number. They're not just an employee. They're valued, and they're a huge asset to our business, because without them, we would not have Zach's Pet Services and how it is today. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think remembering too, like I hired this person for a reason, right? This person has giftings, talents, purpose. They are a person with feelings, with value, with aspiration. And I can trust them with these things because I hired them for me to trust them with these things. And
exactly.
We just went through a hiring process very recently, and it's been a new way to view people and going, you are here for a purpose because I need you, and I can't do what I want to do without you. And that means, like you said, I'm going to delegate things to you. I'm going to have, you are going to have responsibility. That there's meaning and there's weight behind that. And that's huge whenever clients see that. Like you said, like that's like, oh, okay, well, here you go. So for us, we did a meet and greet, and we do trainings, and I lead the first one. But then as we go through and the staff shadow us, I lead less and less. And by the time that the client, the new hire was done with their last one, and I basically was like, I'm just going to be here in the background. You lead the whole thing. And I barely spoke. That seeing how differently the client viewed that staff member after that kind of interaction versus when I was leading and the staff member was kind of in the shadows, that was a very different relationship. And I was like, that's what I want, that other one. I want the one where the client sees the staff as super important, invaluable, knowledgeable, and an authority in my company. And I want more of that.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I always stress too to my managers and my staff members, our full-time and our part-time and everything, that, I'm not higher up than you. I want them to know that I'm on an equal basis. I can scoop poop out in the yards. I can walk a dog, and I can take phone calls and answer, do all different things, but also, we each are here with our own set of jobs and tasks. And I don't want to, of course, and I think every entrepreneur struggles with this, but we try to micromanage here and there. And that's a huge thing that I've had to learn, is to not do that and to once again delegate things. And, I think sometimes my employees will come to me and ask me a question, and they'll tell me, what they think the answer is. And I will say, absolutely, yes. And they're like, okay, I just wanted to run it by you. And I said, no, be confident in yourself. You made the right decision. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. And I'm putting you in that position to make that decision, So, but I think that's something that, employees have struggled with too, is, okay, is that going to be okay with Zach? Should I run that by him? What would he do? And I just want to remind them and make sure that they know that I respect them in their position and that they can make those decisions.
You also work very closely with someone else, your wife. You've mentioned her a couple times. What's it like running your business with your wife?
Well, she's not here to answer for herself. No,
never mind.
No, I'm just kidding. No. There's always days where we may disagree on something, but no, I just always make that joke. But no, my wife and I overall do wonderful working together. We are both very good at our different aspects of the business. And although we may not have always recognized those over the years, we've been married for 5 years now. And she, as we were dating before, she helped me a lot with my business. She helped do the business plan that I originally had done. She pretty much did all the blueprints for this new building. She's amazing at that. She has that vision for she can take my thoughts and throw them on paper. She can take my thoughts and throw them into a picture, different things like that. And, so we both, I think we both can recognize what we're good at in the business, and that kind of helps us balance it out and things. So, if I have a question about marketing or advertisements or drawing things for the new building or, different things like that, I go to her. She knows exactly what that is. And then, she knows that I know the ins and outs of our pets and our customers and all different things like that. So, we make a really good team. We always say we're not going to talk about work at dinner, but, every single night it comes up in conversation or many, but that's just something we always joke about. But, this business is such a huge part of our life. I mean, it is our livelihood. And, it's gotten a little better. We've got a almost 4-year-old son and then a almost 1-year-old daughter. And so they take a lot of our time too. And Jenna primarily stays home with them. But she also, works from home with the business. So that, obviously has helped with things like that and helping with the work family life balance. But, being in this line of business and being in the pet care industry, we're kind of married to the business as well. So it's a huge part of our life. And I think we do a fabulous job of making sure that we put as much time into the business as we need to, but also as much time into each other and our family as well.
Yeah, that last part is incredibly huge in that, if you're working in business with a spouse, with a significant other, knowing that you still have to, at the end of the day, be nurturing that relationship as it is, apart and aside from the business that you're running, and keeping that, growing that beyond growing the business. And then when you are working on the business, recognizing that each of you does have those different talents and gifts and leaning on those and taking things to each other and going, hey, I'm really bad at this, but I know you are awesome and you love it. So help. Right?
Right, exactly.
Like that. Really
And that
helps set that tone.
And that reminds me, just last week, I made a little graphic advertisement thing for one of our events that we were having. And I asked Jenna, my wife, I said, could you jump on there and see if that looks okay? And she got her computer out and I was in the other room and I just heard her laughing. And I came around the corner and I said, is that not good enough? And she says, give me a few minutes. And so then I walked out of the room and then she comes in there, or she has me come back in and she says, turns her computer. She says, what do you think? And I said, oh my, and I just walked away because I'm like, she completely I didn't do a good job and I'll be the first to admit it, it would have worked. It would have been fine. But, she blew it out of the park just like she always does with that stuff. So, it was just funny because she wasn't laughing to be mean. She was just laughing because she's like, why did you do this when you could have just said, hey, can you make an ad for our event tomorrow? So it was just, it was just comical. And, we have a lot of things like that too. But, what amazes me too is, Jenna's been away for the last few years from working every day out in the kennel. She still helps part-time and things like that out there, but most of her job is working from home on the computer and phone calls and things. And it amazes me though, because I'll be talking about one of our pets that's in our care or maybe one of their owners or something, and she will instantly know who it is. And, I'm like, you haven't seen that dog in 3 years or something. She's like, yep, I know, but I knew exactly who it was. Or she'll come out to the business to work for a couple hours and she'll know who a dog is, and I've been like that forever. I've got that photographic memory with the pets, and I always tease the girls. I'm like, I can walk through this whole row of kennels and feed them all without looking at their instructions, right? And they're like, oh, no, you can't, So then, I'm like, nope, I know that one gets this and it has this with it. I just have remembered it. It's my passion and it's what I've done my whole life. And I think that's another, going back to working with my wife, I think that I struggled because with the aspect of her coming into it at first, because, this was my baby, and not only her, but my employees. I did everything how I wanted to do it and at my own pace, sometimes too slow, but I wasn't used to that. And so that's been a huge game changer, but it's also been for the better. I can't do it without them, and I wouldn't want to do it without them. And I have to make sure that I, take that time to invest in them and make sure that they're happy in everything that they're doing. But that just, this is not what my wife wanted to do before she met me. She had pets, she loved her pets, but she was looking into, like at one point she wanted to run a bed and breakfast and different things like that. But when she met me and saw my passion for it and saw what I wanted to do, she instantly took to it. And, it's been huge because, I think that she'll look at things and think, like, where would I have been, if I hadn't done this, and she's like, and she'll say, I've never dreamt I would be running a dog kennel, and just different things like that. So I think that's neat. But then, it goes the same for me because, she's the reason we found our current property, so without her, I don't know where our location might be, so I think that you definitely have to treat each other, with respect in the workforce and make sure that their opinions valued. And, with me starting this on my own when I was young, I instantly sometimes will think I want to do it this way and that's it, my way or the highway. And I know that I need to go to Jenna and say, hey, what's your input on this or your opinion on this? Do you think that this would be a good idea to offer for our customers, and vice versa? Each of our opinion matters, and what we do is very important in the business.
Viewing each other as equal in that decision-making process when you're working in the business, and valuing them and being willing to go, oh, you know what? Actually, that's a much better idea than I would have thought of. Thank you. And we're going to go with that one. And that little recognition and that coming together when you're working with a spouse, when you're working with a significant other, of valuing them and their opinion enough to set yours aside, it speaks volumes, right, of that relationship, and making it work and working hard on that year after year in the business and in the personal side of things as well. Zach, you started in that 10 by 12 shed. I want to ask you, with everything that you've got going on, do you feel successful?
I do, and I definitely do. And there's some times where I'll wake up and I wonder if I'm in a dream, because I truly am living my dream and everything that I wanted my little 10 by 12 shed to turn into. But, again, I couldn't do it without the people that are in my lives, are in my life. That's definitely been a huge part. My parents for giving me the opportunity, when I was a kid, they built this shed on my property so that I could take care of other people's animals. They allowed me to have people drive in and out of their drive, dropping pets off at all hours of the day and night. And they allowed me to walk dogs around their property. And, most parents would be like, no, I want my peace and quiet house and everything. And, they let me have that opportunity, and I'm forever thankful for them. And my grandparents who helped build the kennel and saw my dream as well. And all my family members and friends over the years. In high school, I was featured like in the yearbook having the kennel, and so many people came up to me and were like, that is just so amazing. I didn't know that you did that. What made you want to do it and everything. And I think it speaks volumes too, as a child, being like a 10, 11-year-old, and random people are bringing their pets to me, they just felt that trust and that passion that I had. So, the people from my community, my friends and my family, my employees, my church, everybody that has been a part of that has all led to our success in making Zach's Pet Services what it is today. So at the end of the day, I truly do believe that I am successful, but I wouldn't be successful without all the people in my life, and without my Lord and Savior, and without everything that I believe in. I wake up every day and I am just so thankful and so blessed for all of the people that are in my life.
Well, Zach, thank you so much for joining us on the show today and walking us through all that it takes to run the kind of boarding and kennel facility and daycare operation that you've got going on there, and all the wonderful things that you have planned now and working towards. in the future. But again, I know there's still so much that you do, and there's a lot involved with it. So how can people first follow along with the build out and expansion operation and see all the things that you've got going on, and then get connected with you to pick your brain if they've got some questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're on social media platforms. We've got Facebook, Instagram. We've got Google. We have a website that you can contact us through there. It goes straight to our email, and that goes directly to me and our managers. And so, if anybody wants to reach out with any questions, feel free to message on there or give me a call and talk to us. It's definitely a unique business, and it's long hours, it's long days. There's days that are more stressful than others. But overall, it's such a fun and wonderful line of business to be in. So I don't want to discourage anybody from doing it, but I just think that it's great to have a good support system, like people that are in the same line of business as us to be able to help each other, to support people, podcasts like this one and different things where we can relate to people, because, a lot of people in our community have no idea what my wife and I and our employees go through on a day-to-day basis, not that it's bad, but, just that we have so much going on. And, I think a lot of people just overlook that. And I'm not saying that their lives aren't busy and their professions may not be busy, but it's different, and I love, online following different things and listening to podcasts and things where I can actually relate to people, when they're doing the same exact thing as you or similar, with the pet care industry. It's so nice to be able to see a situation and know that you've went through that same thing and be able to relate to that person. So I can be contacted Facebook, Instagram, and then on our website, and you can find that on Google or just about anywhere. So I would love to talk with anybody. I'm always interested in finding out more people in our industry and being able to relate to the same types of things that we have and that we go through on a day-to-day basis.
I couldn't agree more. And I will have links to your website and your social media handles in the show notes and on our website as well. So people can follow along and see all of the things, the antics that you get up to with your daycare fun in the snow, birthdays, and all sorts of stuff that you guys post and celebrate. It's always so much fun. So,
right. We have to have fun for sure. That's what it's all about too.
It is for us, for our staff, for our clients, both 4 and 2-legged. Fun really does get us through a lot of stuff. But Zach, this has been, I just thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I really appreciate you taking out time away from the Build Project and your family to come and talk to us today. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Colin and Megan, for having me on. And I wish you all the best and look forward to talking to you in the future.
So how do we stay ambitious in our business and in our lives? I think what I got from Zach here is that you have to be crystal clear about your mission in life and the purpose driving it. Without those, there's no way or no reason we would try and overcome obstacles as they come up in our lives. There's no reason why we would push for new, bigger, better, grander things other than what we have in front of us. Being content with our lives is one thing. That is something that we should all strive for. And at every stage, no matter what we have or don't have, or what goal we have yet, or we will meet in the future, we should be content and happy with what we have around us. That doesn't mean we can't be ambitious and still want more. We have to have those plans to put into place to execute on. We have to have a team that surrounds us that helps us meet them. Nobody can do all of these things by ourselves. So whether you are a solopreneur or whether you have staff, you have people in your lives that are cheering for you, that want to see you succeed. It could be clients, it could be family members, it could be friends, it could be fellow local business owners, or it could be pet sitters from around the globe who are cheering you on. And Megan and I want you to know that that's exactly where we are for you. We want you to continue to be ambitious, to push and pursue excellence in all that you do, and to make your business exactly what you want it to be to meet the needs of your clients. We're rooting for you. We're cheering you on. That's why we do the podcast and what we do here. It's because we want to have you well equipped to go out and do the things that you want to do. We understand that not all of the topics or all the things we touch on are exactly what every single person needs to hear, but eventually they may help you in some aspect of what you want to do and help you plan for the future. So we want to thank our sponsors, Time to Pet and Pet Sitters International, for making today's show possible. And thank you so much for listening. We hope you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will be back again soon.